What's up, anybody who's out there? Welcome to the replay. This is Naja Amatula. I haven't seen you guys in so long because sometimes I just feel like I don't have anything to say. Yes, I'm scoping and driving. No, I'm not looking at any comments that may arise. I sometimes get to a place where I feel like I don't have anything to say, so I just don't say stuff, you know? But today I've got so many things to say, and so I'm gonna say them all. And if nobody watches the replay, that's fine, because I really just want to post this as a YouTube video, so I will later. Okay. Once upon a time, Naja was a girl who scribbled poems in her notebook, and knew that other people wrote poems, but didn't think anybody would ever want to hear her poems, except for maybe like a lover that I might have someday in the distant future, right? Because I've never like really been in a relationship, never really thought I'd have a lover, and I used to, you know, scribble these poems, and I was like this smart kid, but like I didn't think anybody cared what I thought, right? And then I went to college, and I had people telling me like, hey, you know, well, I'm sorry, Def Poetry Jam came out, right? And so I knew somebody somewhere did that, but obviously all the cool stuff happens in New York, and none of it happens in Oklahoma City. So I thought that I would have to move to New York in order to do cool stuff, and that's not true. And I am part of making that not true. So I went to college, and I was living more kind of in the heart of the city instead of in a suburb, and I met people who did poetry, and I heard of people who did poetry, and I had people telling me like, no, people really do this, like people really do this a lot. People do it like not that far from here. And then I started going to this place where they did poetry. So I started doing poetry on stage. Never have I ever been as afraid of a stage ever a day in my life. I'm just not that girl. Not shy about anything. And so I started doing it. I want to say I was 20 or 21 when I started doing it. And that is the year that Russell Simmons, when he was, I guess, bored of Def Poetry Jam and whatever, so he decided to do an HBO special to cover Brave New Voices, which is the youth version, right? And I watched it, and those kids, you know, some of them were only 2 and 3 years younger than me, but some of them were 5 and 6 years younger than me. There are some bomb 15 and 16 year olds out there, and I watched them, and I cried my face off because I had missed it. Oh my gosh, how did I miss it? How did I not know that people could compete doing poetry? How did I not know that that I could, you know, be on TV for writing poems? How did I not know this was a thing? Who didn't tell me? Oh my gosh, I was horrified and so sad. And I actually stopped writing for a couple of weeks, maybe months, because I was so upset that I had missed the boat, right? Because you had to be a teenager. So I was 20, 21, and I was too late. And 2 things happened. Number 1, I realized I could slam as an adult, although I've never really been all that successful at that particular pursuit. Number 2, I noticed on the show the coaches. I started looking at the coaches, and one of them, her name was Lauren Whitehead, so you know, if she ever sees this, if I ever get to meet her, that'll be really cool. She seemed like the one that I might most identify with, and at the time she was 23 and she was coaching a team of teenagers, and I was like, oh, I can do that. I have a new dream, right? So ever since, so that's been, you know, 6 years ago now, I decided that was my goal. I wanted Oklahoma City to have a youth slam team, like a thriving one that went to competition every year. And I had that idea, you know, like the summer of my junior year of college. And it's been vacillating between the front and the back of my mind every day since then. So shortly after that, I decided I wanted to teach high school, so I did that. The first school that I went to, where I was just a substitute, I didn't even have my own class. I started a poetry club after school with one of the teachers, and I had some really good kids in there. I had some really smart kids in there, some really sweet kids in there. And we were a good portion of the school's Black History program that year. And I really loved building relationships with them. But then, unfortunately, I didn't end up getting a job at that school. And so I didn't keep the poetry club with me. So I went to a new school. And at my new school, it didn't happen until the spring, but in February, I did, they had a faculty talent show, and I did a poem, and the kids voted me the winner, and that inspired me and reminded me that that's what I wanted to do with them. So I started a poetry club at that school, and I didn't get hired back to go there, and so I didn't get to bring my kids with me. Really great kids, really smart kids, really talented kids who were really excited about poetry, and some really great staff members that I worked with over there too. But I didn't get invited back, so the poetry club didn't follow me. So last year, I started at the awesome school that I'm at, and I love my school, but at my school, we love sports, and typically, the kids who want to do poetry are the kids who like maybe don't play sports or only play like, you know, tennis or a sport that isn't really, you know, a big one. And you have some really great poet athletes, but I didn't really know where they were. The other thing was I had not previously had a creative writing class, but at my new school I have one. So I thought I didn't really need to create a poetry club because I saw these kids in class and I could just talk to them then, right? I could just work with them during class. Well, I don't know if you know, but what happens a lot of the time at public school, especially if you have a smaller public school, the kids that you get in your class are kids who just need an elective credit, and so they don't necessarily want to do poetry, right? They don't necessarily want to make that a big part of their lives. And so that's the issue that I kind of ran into is I had, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 kids who really wanted to do it, and all the rest just needed their credit. And so I didn't push it too terribly hard. I did some poems for them. They tried to do some poems for me, and I was overwhelmed with my first year, and I just kind of didn't really try. Well, this year, 2 really impactful things happened. Number 1, I met my, should I take my sunglasses off? I guess I will. Number 1, I met my boss, Quraish Ali Lansana, and depending on how far this video goes, some of you will have heard of him. He is, you know, famous in the poet world, and he coaches a youth slam team, and he's really talented and really awesome and really cool, and he told me that he, you know, wanted to work with me, and his phrase, and I love this phrase, was "we all we got." And I love that. And so I started working with him and started, you know, kind of, I guess it whet my appetite again, right? So I started thinking more about the things I wanted to do, and I told him, like, hey, this is my ultimate goal, and he's like, yep, let's work on it. Well, not too long after that, I went to a workshop with some friends, and I met a sweet friend named Amanda, and she is blessed to work at an alternative, like, private school. I shouldn't say alternative, that makes it sound like bad. Alternative just as in it's not structured like the way the rest of our schools are. So it's private, so they do what they want. And so since they don't, you know, have to follow a lot of the same rules that we have to follow, she gets to do a lot more like spoken word in class and things of that nature. And so she was telling me how cool she thought it was, and did I want to help her, like, give her kids more opportunities to do spoken word? And I'm like, oh my gosh, of course I do, because that's the only thing I want to do with my life. It's my dream job. Ultimate goal, teach kids poetry. That's it. And so she and I started talking about it, and she was like, let's make it happen. And she had a connect at a youth center, and she had a connect at a school where they have a van that they use for after school activities, and we put it together. And tonight, hello, I didn't think anybody was going to come join. That's cool. Tonight we had our first youth open mic workshop thing, and it went really well. There were 4 really, really talented kids in there, and some who could be talented with some work, and it was really fun. And the kids who are really talented, when I say they're really talented, they are amazing. And I mean, amazing. I was sitting there oh my gosh, did that just come out of a kid's mouth? One of them was 13, and he was so good. And the other one is, he said he's never done it before, but he was amazing, better than me, amazing, amazing. And the only reason I said better than me is because I'm 27, so it was so good. And, so we are trying to do it again on the 28th, April 28th at the Northeast Center. If you have teenagers who, obviously in Oklahoma City, if you have teenagers who are interested, I will help them learn to the best of my ability. And we have some volunteers who are into it as well, and they will help facilitate and help learn. If you have, if you want to come volunteer, we're totally down. So April 28th, and then we think, don't write this one down yet because we're not 100% sure, but May 31st, I'm pretty sure, is the next one. That's a Tuesday. So April 28th is a Thursday, May 31st is a Tuesday. Bring your kids, tell your kids, tell their friends, blast it to whatever schools are around you, and let's, I'm so excited to see, what's going to happen. And, our goal is to start sending kids to competition. I am actually on Saturday, my boss hooked me up with somebody else, and so I'm going to go watch a big slam. It'll be my first youth slam to watch live. In fact, it'll be my first major competition slam to watch live. I've watched, the qualifiers that are in cities. I've never watched one of the big ones live. I've just seen them on video. So I'm really excited, and big things are in the works. Kids, you're about to see kids' creativity from Oklahoma City go crazy. So we see spoken word YouTube videos fly around all the time, right? They've been on the Ellen show, they've been on all this stuff, but we haven't seen the kids from Oklahoma City. So you're about to see the kids from Oklahoma City blow all the way up, and I could not be more excited. Now, I just have to say, before I end it off, it's all God, right? So I don't credit myself with any of this. God gave me the dream. He gave me the talent. He gave me the desire. I think that it's, at least a huge chunk of my purpose, if not my whole purpose. I'm a writer and I love kids. So obviously I should teach writing to kids. I just feel like it just matches. And my God is a God of order. So I feel like that's the kind of stuff he does. And he is the one who orchestrates it. And I went to prayer this morning before I taught school, and then before I went to the workshop. And the ladies were saying, that they just knew it was going to be awesome. And I was telling them, I've done it before, and they just never gained momentum and never kept going. And so I was, nervous or whatever about this one, just because I didn't know how it would be. And they said, and it's funny because I didn't even hear the sermon, but I guess Pastor Charles at IVBC had recently said, old ideas that you had, try them again. Things that you tried before that didn't work out, try them again because they're going to work this time. And based on everything that just happened and the kids that I met and the adults that I met who are all about it, I think that they are right. I think it's going to work this time. And I'm so pumped, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait for you guys to see how talented Oklahoma City's kids are. I can't wait for you to see how Oklahoma City, we're here. We're out here. We're out here. Me and JB are about to bring you some fire, Black Future. Kids are about to blow it up. This summer it's gonna start. Next summer we're killing the game. I'm telling you, next summer we're killing the game. All right. In a couple of years, I'm peacing out of Millwood, not because I don't love Millwood, but because I need to be doing this full time, right? we're doing it in a couple of years. Give me 5. Me and Amanda said we'll take 5. Let's see how big God wants to flex his muscles and if it's gonna be sooner. All right, so stay tuned. Tell your kids. Share the video. Thanks so much.